All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, it's so interesting. Over the course of the previous NBA season, I stated that I believed that either Kevin Durant or Draymond Green, or the both of them, would implode somewhere down the course of the regular season and or the playoffs, and possibly put their team, the Golden State Warriors, in a position where their chances of winning a championship might be compromised. Well, I have to give them credit because they both surprised me. They both kept their composure. But I also think that it was due to the fact that there was never a moment over the course of the playoffs where they had to concentrate on something other than the team that they were facing. When they went up against the Houston Rockets, they had a real threat there. So they didn't have time to go back and forth with the refs too much. And by the time they faced Cleveland, Cleveland was so easy to deal with that they forgot about the refs and they were just looking at, the finish line of that season. Well, this year, we're starting to see a lot of the issues that I thought were going to pop up last year with Draymond and Kevin Durant. And this is why the overall architecture of the Golden State Warriors is so strange. Because the face of their organization is not their alpha, that being Steph Curry. Their alpha is not their most talented player, that being Draymond Green. And their most talented player, Kevin Durant, is neither the alpha nor the face. So because their architecture is so strange, it leads to these very wild dynamics that eventually seem to stipulate the propensity for these very strange situations within their organization. And then on top of that, they're super liberal. And we've seen with the Seattle Seahawks what happens when you run your organization that way. Eventually, the fact or the notion that you allow your players to express themselves too much, it leads to problems like this. And when we're talking about a Draymond Green is not meant to be your alpha. Draymond Green is meant to be the guy who has to make sure that he falls in line with the alpha, because the alpha has to be measured. Draymond's very intelligent, but he also is overly passionate, and that leads to him doing things that make him look stupid, even though he's very, very, very intelligent. Draymond's emotionally unstable, but he's emotionally unstable like a fox. Don't get it twisted. There's a reason why he attacked Kevin Durant in that way. Because Draymond sees things happening before they happen. He already knows that Kevin Durant's going to leave. It's just that when you mix that level of insight and understanding with his overly feminine nature, because he's a mama's boy, that means that he does not know how to keep his composure in those situations. Draymond's like a bad girlfriend. The bad girlfriend get mad at you and then she starts ranting and raving about shit that she was supposed to have gotten over 2 years ago. Draymond get mad. He talking about you. He talking about your mama. He talking about your brother. I wasn't in that locker room, but it's not difficult to figure out what Draymond was saying to Kevin Durant. He's probably talking about his mother. Might have been talking about him being the B word. Might have been talking about his brother. His brother got caught up with a tranny. So, everything that Draymond know, he gonna let it all out. And Draymond has to understand something that every brother out there should know. And I'm going to stress this. I'm probably going to be covering this in other videos. Always remember, you lose them how you got them. Okay? You lose them how you got them. Kevin Durant was drafted by the OKC Thunder. He built up a very strong rapport with that city. And he was able to be seduced out of OKC by Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors. So Draymond Green, being the intelligent man that he is, should have understood that for Kevin Durant to be able to be seduced out of OKC, that means that he could be seduced out of Golden State. He was a rental. He's a high-class hoe that you're trying to turn into a housewife. And you can't do that. And that's why I try to explain to brothers that as the times change, we have to adapt. You either adapt or you die out. At one time, when a female had not grown into a woman, when she was a very young girl, her father told her, this is who you're going to marry, when she was 6 or 7 years old. They waited for her to reach a certain level of maturity, and at 14 or 15 years old, they married her away. She had no rights to divorce, and she had to be the loyal wife, meaning the loyal servant of that man for the rest of her life. And then eventually it turned into a young man and a young woman. They met in junior high or high school. They wooed and courted one another. They got married at 18, and then they stayed married for life. And then eventually it became the woman got the right to divorce, and she could divorce a man if she was empowered to do so, if she felt like she had options to do so. But for the most part, they had no options because they could not get jobs and careers. So they had to try to work it out with their man. Now you have what you have today. You have corporate partnerships. Why am I saying all this? In the NBA, at one time, a team could draft you and you could not go anywhere. Then you had unrestricted free agency that did not come about until 1988. 1988, not that long ago. After that, you have players who were able to go where they want. It changed their perspective. Right now, top-level players can basically call the shots. Top-level players are able to dictate the general managers. And if you're a team and you're able to woo a player on the level of a Kevin Durant, there's no way in the world that you should ever have been looking at him as a piece that was going to stay. If he stayed, great, but you should have expected that at some point he was going to leave. And we're going to be covering that in this video because there's this notion that the Warriors should be considering trading Draymond Green. There's no way that you should be trading Draymond Green. Draymond Green is a homegrown prospect. Okay? That's why he feels such a sense of loyalty to that organization. Kevin Durant does not. He does not. If Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green were the children that were had by the mother and the father in the house, Kevin Durant is that wayfaring child who was found out on the street, who had ran away from home from an abusive father and mother, and he got taken in by the family. They fed him. They put some good clothes on him. And he decided when he turned 17 that he wanted to move out. You can't get mad at him. You have to let him go. If while he was there, he helped you make repairs to the house, he helped the other kids with their homework, they were able to graduate junior high school and high school because he was able to assist them in any ways that he was able to. And, you know, in turn, they were able to assist him in understanding life. Hey, it's a fair exchange. It's okay. Go on out, find out about the world. Good luck. I'll say this and I'll say it again. Kevin Durant is not an alpha. He's a beta. So if you had left him alone, you would have had a decent chance at the very least of him coming back next year, especially with the opening of the new arena. They probably would have got him for at least one more year. But now, with this transpiring like it did, I just don't see him coming back. And to be honest with you, once again, I would consider trading Kevin Durant before I did Draymond Green. Because we already know what this team can do with Steph, Klay, and Draymond. We know what they can do. They were winning 60-plus games, over 70 games before Kevin Durant got there. So what Kevin Durant did was he made them unbeatable in the playoffs, basically. But believe me, when Kevin Durant does decide to move on, he's going to find out how much more difficult life is when he does not have the spacing out there on the floor that gets afforded to him by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So, you know what? We're going to let them talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
So a lot of drama with the Warriors. Here's what I know. Draymond Green was suspended without pay for Tuesday's game against the Hawks for conduct detrimental to the team. An angry late-game exchange between Green and Kevin Durant Monday carried into the locker room, league sources telling Adrian Wojnarowski and Mark Spears. No one had to be separated, no player left his seat, and no hint of physicality loomed in the setting, sources said. Let's hear from...
Now look at all this stuff that Draymond Green is talking. He's saying he's a bitch, he's a this, he's a that, he's a bitch. He actually expects loyalty from Kevin Durant, and I'm already on record as telling you, brothers, once again, you have to understand and adapt to your environment. This current era of free agency, especially in the NBA, is not about loyalty. It's about what is expedient. It's about what is relevant to you to help you grow as an individual. You're not supposed to be having any sense of loyalty to a franchise or to an organization or to a fan base. It's about making sure that you maximize your earning potential. That's all it's about. And it's just very strange that Draymond Green does not grasp that. He didn't allow himself to fall in love with a hoe. They brought in Kevin Durant to assist them in getting over the LeBron James hump. He's done that for the last 2 years. He's going to do that presumably this year. I mean, unless they have a complete meltdown or they have a catastrophic injury. So you let this year play out and you never know what's going to happen after the season. But Kevin Durant's brother has been putting out on Twitter for this entire year that Kevin Durant's going to leave. Earlier this year, Kevin Durant's brother stated on Twitter, so no one more game down until we out of here. So if they're going to leave, they're going to leave. That's life. Once again, brothers, if you're one of these guys who wants to be the Lothario and steal another man's woman from that man, you better not fall in love with that woman. Because if she allowed herself to get stolen from that man, she's going to allow herself to get stolen from you.
Let's hear from KD after last night's win over Atlanta.
Kevin, have you and Draymond been able to hash anything out?
Nah.
Brothers, just as an aside, you know what I'm very, very thankful for when I look at Kevin Durant? I'm thankful that this brother seems to have finally went to a dermatologist and to a dentist and fixed his teeth and got his skin taken care of. I mean, you're making $60, $70 million a year. There's no way in the world that you're supposed to have the skin problems and the teeth issues that he's had, up until this offseason. So good for him for taking care of himself.
Do you see that happening anytime soon?
I'm sure it will. We got a long season ahead.
Is it just similar to like two brothers fighting when they're growing up?
We are brothers. We are family.
Now look at how Andre Iguodala answered that question. They asked him, is it similar to two brothers fighting? He didn't even answer. He said, we are brothers. We are family. But basically he said, what I witnessed in the locker room, that was not no brotherly fight. That was two niggas in the hood, rearing up to try to kill one another. Or at least I should say one Negro rearing up trying to kill the other one.
Whether we realize it or not, we are family.
He said, whether we realize it or not, we are family. Brothers, let me say this also. Draymond Green is clearly a bully. And he's someone who's accustomed to being Kevin Durant's handler over the last 2 years plus. And for Kevin Durant to speak to him in that way, basically to tell him, how come you didn't pass me the ball? Draymond Green, is letting him know, I'm the one in control of you. You don't dictate to me, I dictate to you. That's why he spazzed out like that. Draymond's a big bully. And when you conquer a bully, you can't just conquer him once. You have to do it more than once to let him know that never again will the dynamic be you over me. In real life, conquering bullies is not like Back to the Future when George McFly knocked out Biff and changed the course of history. That's not how it works. Normally, you got to whoop his ass a couple times or at least show that you're not going to back down ever again. So it's going to be very interesting to see the rapport between KD and Draymond Green from here on out. Because Draymond is a bully. And if you allow him to, he'll just go fully overboard. That's why there was conversations or innuendo that he threatened to approach KD on a physical level and all that. Why was that? He was trying to maintain control over his asset, that being Kevin Durant. That's why he's so disappointed, because he thought that he had full mental control over KD. He spent the last 2 years trying to put forth a lot of fabricated fake energy, fake brotherly energy towards KD, thinking that it was going to get him to stay. And I knew that there was something going on between Draymond and KD a couple of weeks ago when the Golden State Warriors, they played against the New Orleans Pelicans, and Draymond Green was whispering into the ears of Anthony Davis in a similar way as he was doing to KD back in 2016. So Draymond was trying to plant seeds in Anthony Davis to play with the Golden State Warriors like he was KD. Why would he be doing that unless he already knows KD's going to leave? And it's not that difficult to figure out why Draymond Green is this upset in regards to an understanding that KD's going to leave. All you have to do is look at who is it that both Draymond Green and Kevin Durant hang out with. And we know who that is. That's LeBron James. So obviously LeBron James has been putting certain messages in Draymond Green's ear about where Kevin Durant's going to go. It's not that difficult to figure out, brothers. And there was a story a while ago that Kevin Durant was telling one of his paramours that he was going to end up in LA. So we'll see if that's true or not. We'll see if that's true. Because LA could mean the Clippers. It might not mean the Lakers. Because I think that even Kevin Durant's smart enough to understand that if he was to team up with LeBron with the Lakers, he still would never be considered the alpha of that team either. So we'll see how things transpire.
Cain and Abel type brothers?
Cain and Abel. I don't think nobody trying to kill that.
You sure about that, bro?
At the end of the day, we're on the same team with the same goal, and that's to three-peat, and I don't think either of them will lose sight of that, whether it's personal agenda or whatever.
Once again, compare the demeanor and the decorum of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, who grew up in patriarchal households, as opposed to Draymond Green and Kevin Durant.
I think we'll get far past it, and we'll, grow to that. We'll get to that goal.
Klay Thompson, when you pay very close attention to him, when that whole situation occurred, he started out sitting outside of the area where Draymond Green and Kevin Durant were sitting. And when he saw what was going on, he very, very, very quickly and astutely got up and sat in the middle of them to try to cut off that energy, So he must be accustomed to them going back and forth with one another. And remember, last year, according to David West, there was a lot going on in the locker room last year.
He also said a pass would be behind us like a ponytail, referencing Drake. How do we not put that part into it? All right, Stephen A. So I said that's what I know happened. What do you know?
I spoke to a couple of people inside the Warriors organization, a couple of people that were obviously there. Here's what happened. Obviously, we saw what happened on the court in terms of Draymond Green grabbing the basketball, racing down court, not giving the ball to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was clapping his hands for it. Once the play fell apart, obviously they go into overtime. They go towards the bench, and Kevin Durant was like, I was asking for the ball. Why didn't you give me the ball, et cetera, et cetera. And Kevin and Draymond.
Let me say this before Stephen A. Smith continues. This is not the first time that Draymond Green decided that he was going to push the basketball into the middle of traffic and ended up turning the ball over. He does this repeatedly. Repeatedly he does this. And once again, this is what makes their team so strange. That their power forward is considered their point guard. Their point guard is considered their best outside shooter and scorer. And, their wing, Kevin Durant, is their overall best player, but he's their weakest personality. So that's what makes this team so fragile.
Green just went off, started cussing him out. Obviously, the B word is something that everybody's been using. Draymond Green has said that to a lot of people. He said that to opponents like LeBron James. He said that to his own teammates before. He certainly said that to Kevin Durant.
Now, I did a video a while ago asserting that LeBron James and Draymond Green were frenemies. Why is that? Because LeBron James is somebody who wants to make sure, because he understands who Draymond Green is for the Golden State Warriors. He's basically their leader. He's the alpha on that team. So LeBron James wants to make sure that he brings Draymond into the fold so that possibly he can adulterate what goes on inside of their locker room by planting certain seeds into the head of Draymond Green. Draymond Green also understands who LeBron is. So basically, they're playing games with one another. They've been shooting darts back and forth at one another for the past 3 or 4 years. But once again, it's very easy to understand why Draymond Green believes that Kevin Durant is definitely out. I'm sure that LeBron James has told him certain things. Remember, Stephen A. Smith reported before this season that LeBron James had his representation try to contact Kevin Durant to see if he was interested in coming to LA before this season. Look at DeMarcus Cousins' face. DeMarcus Cousins is like, damn, nigga, you're even more emotional and bitch-like than me. And that's saying something. Now, DeMarcus Cousins is another mama's boy to watch out for. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Golden State is able to transcend these issues over the course of this year. They need to have Steph Curry come back as soon as possible.
That to the wrong person, that's a problem.
Yeah, but that's not the issue here, because it's something far bigger that went on. In the process of Draymond Green, according to my sources, in the process of Draymond Green going off, he brought up Kevin Durant's contract. Now, I've heard that Steve Kerr and others may have denied that. I don't give a damn about the denials. I trust my sources on this one. And I'm telling you, Draymond Green said to Kevin Durant, essentially, you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm not quoting there, I'm paraphrasing. You got 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Well, doesn't everybody have 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Everybody has 1 foot in and 1 foot out, Draymond Green. And let me say this. When we see what Kevin Durant has done for Golden State over the last couple of years, taking haircuts on his salary to make sure that they could bring back Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston and those guys. You can't say that he's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't call up Kevin Durant after you get your ass whooped by LeBron James in Game 7 in the finals and beg him to come play with you, and then try to act like he's not doing everything that he's needed to do to assist you in winning championships. He's been the finals MVP the last 2 years. Once again, everybody on their team has an Achilles heel. That's what makes them so colorful. That's what makes them great champions for the NBA. Unlike the Spurs, who really have no color whatsoever. They're so robotic. But everyone on their team has their strengths and has very, very glaring Achilles heels. Once again, Draymond is so upset because he knows Kevin Durant can be replaced. What he does is perfect for their offense. He's a proficient and efficient scorer in the half court. He's great in transition. And he's an excellent help defender on defense. He literally fits in perfect into their offensive system. And that's why the Golden State Warriors front office was so upset with Draymond, because they know that their chances of bringing back KD were relatively slim. I won't say slim to none, but when somebody does something like this, it takes a 30% chance and turns it into a 10% chance. If that high. Might be lower than that.
You're not down with this team the way the rest of us are, and basically questioned Kevin Durant's commitment to this franchise. And that's where it really, really crossed the line. And so in a lot of people's eyes, from the top on down, the belief is they would have had absolutely no credibility whatsoever.
Let me say this once again. Draymond Green, in order to appease Kevin Durant, he's not just going to have to apologize. He's going to have to take him on a fishing trip, have a long conversation with him, and he's going to have to open up his own heart and his own vulnerabilities to appease Kevin Durant and let him know how insecure he's felt about Kevin Durant's impending free agency, to even attempt to assuage any hard feelings that Kevin Durant may have right now.
With the rest of the team, if they had not suspended Draymond Green, my position is this has been tolerated on many occasions. Certainly not the part about bringing up the contract in the middle of the huddle while y'all going at each other. And you know it's bad when Boogie Cousins got to restrain you. You know it's bad when Boogie Cousins got to restrain you. But for me, where it really resonates is that I was saying, and I asked this question, wait a minute, Draymond is an emotional dude. This is something that y'all have reported religiously. In 2016, in the locker room in Oklahoma City, Draymond Green MF'd Steve Kerr. Told him, don't say another MFing word to me, I'll kill you, okay, and all of this other stuff. Had to be restrained, and this is from going after the coach. He didn't get suspended then. So if we could...
The reason why he didn't get suspended then is because Steve Kerr felt like he could deal with that. Steve Kerr's seen that and seen worse than that. So he was not concerned about Draymond. Plus, understand something. Steve Kerr is the handler for the entire team. So he's not that concerned with Draymond. As I've already stated, in my view, Draymond is an asset. And I gave him credit for some of his comments while he was on the LeBron James show, The Shop, a while ago. But this is why I had so much trepidation in giving this man any credit, because I know how these mama's boys are. I know how they can detonate at any moment. They have a female spirit trapped inside of a man body. And they can't be trusted, man. They just can't. No composure, no decorum whatsoever. And by the way, that game that Stephen A. Smith is referring to, where Draymond Green flipped out on Steve Kerr at the half, that's one of the top 3 regular season NBA games I've ever seen. That's the game where Steph Curry hit the game winner from 30-plus feet against OKC.
If we attribute so much of the emotional stuff to Draymond Green as we have done in the past, what warranted this? And that is when I was told that Draymond Green brought up the fact that Kevin Durant hasn't committed long-term, that Kevin Durant is contemplating walking out the door at the end of this season, basically questioning his commitment to this team. And that is where folks felt he really, really crossed the line. After the game, either during or after the game, I don't recall when, Iguodala, Sean Livingston, and Klay Thompson all spoke. And Klay Thompson reminded the team, according to what I was told, the only people that can beat us is ourselves.
I agree with that, but Steph Curry is going to have to speak to the entire team. Steph Curry seems to be that calming spirit. He seems to be the person who everybody on the squad respects, not only due to how he plays, but his outlook on life and also what he seems to embody off the court with his family, at least the image that he embodies off the court. So he's going to have to get all those guys together and try to converse with them and see if he can bring them back together for this season.
Nobody can mess with us but us. So let's keep that in mind. Let's stay together. But that's essentially what has happened and really what it comes down to, Max.
And if I'm Steve Kerr and I'm speaking to Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, I'm acting like this never happened. I'm acting like this is not a big deal at all. If you as the coach show that this has impacted you in any way, it's going to trickle down to your troops.
Just to put a bow on it, bottom line is the most egregious part in all of this in a lot of people's eyes wasn't the language, because Draymond Green typically does that. He was off kilter, wouldn't let it go. Kevin Durant said, let's go win this game. We got a game to win in overtime. Let's go.
The reason why he wouldn't let it go is because Draymond Green sees what's coming over the horizon. That's why. And he really believed that he had invested the last 2+ years in cultivating Kevin Durant as an asset for the Golden State Warriors. who was going to see, the greater things in life, the sunnier side of the street, things of that nature. Like, he thought that he was going to impact Kevin in such a way in regards to his understanding of how to play winning basketball that there was no way that he was going to leave. Like, how could you do this to us? We're not the Miami Heat with LeBron James. We're the Golden State Warriors. We have revolutionized basketball, and you're going to leave us? That's what's going on in Draymond's mind.
Let's go win it. Draymond said F that and still kept going and kept going after him. And in the process, brought up the fact that impending free agency is coming up in the middle of the game. And people thought that crossed the line.
This is like the original hot take show, right? Like, people talk about hot takes. We do a lot more than that, but people think about hot takes. What does that really mean? It means you've come to a conclusion that is counterintuitive for everyone else. So you state the conclusion, everyone goes, what are you talking about? And then you chop it up and get into it and argue it and debate it and all that.
Yep.
So when I say something like KD is maybe the 5th best player in the world right now, that's considered a hot take, because it's, what are you talking about? Then I'll go through LeBron and Kawhi and AD and the Greek Freak and say KD is somewhere below LeBron and in the mix with the others, maybe as low as 5. We'll see by the end of the year.
Let me say this once again. The ESPN rankings agree with Max Kellerman to a degree, because they even had KD at number 4. They had him a smidgen below Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, a virtual tie. But for them to say that they believe that KD is tied with Giannis really means that they believe that Giannis is above him, because they never had Giannis above him before this. So in regards to the other guys that Max Kellerman has above KD, LeBron and Anthony Davis and Kawhi, all of those can be debated. But at the end of the day, it's not that unreasonable to have KD at 5, especially when you understand the system that he's in. Me personally, I have him at 2 because he's just so much better a jump shooter than Giannis. I can't have Giannis at 2. And I cannot count on Anthony Davis's health. And in regards to Kawhi, I'm not quite sure what he is right now. So with all those factors, I have to put KD at 2, and I put Steph Curry at 3, and he's really more like 2A.
Everyone loses their mind. They think I hate on KD. When I say that LeBron is way better than KD, which he is, people think I'm hating on KD. Let me give you an ice-cold take right now. Just completely, this is whatever. KD is one of. He's in this group of all-time great scorers in the most elite category with Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Well, if you just go based off of PPG, he's below Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, he's right there with Allen Iverson, Jerry West, and LeBron James.
Maybe Kobe Bryant. Maybe a couple of others. Maybe. He is that great a scorer. And he's also turned into a top 10, certainly maybe top 5 defensive player in basketball.
He's up there. I'm not quite sure if he's that high, but he's up there.
He's an all-time great in his prime. Draymond, it doesn't matter if he has 1 foot in and 1 foot out, even if you believe that's true. KD with 1 foot out the door is better than almost every other basketball player who has ever lived.
Well, let me say this, because let me specify in regards to what Max Kellerman is stating, because I don't think that he's being specific enough. I agree with him to a degree that Draymond Green has to leave KD alone, even if he feels like he has 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and mainly because of this reason. KD is not the leader of the team. He's not the alpha, and he's not the face of the organization. He's a weapon that you utilize in the half-court set. That's what KD is. So even if he has 1 foot out, it's not your job to worry about that, because you're not looking to him for inspiration. It's your job, Draymond Green, is your job to provide inspiration and direction and focus for the team, as well as Steph Curry's job. It's not KD's job. Nobody's going to KD and saying, hey, KD, what does the team need to do? That's why KD was so upset when he didn't get the basketball, because he's like, this is my time. This is my job. Give me the ball. And that's what Draymond was supposed to do. I don't care about what the Golden State Warriors like to run and all this other stuff. You brought KD in for that reason. That's his job. Give him the ball. If you gave him the ball, none of this would have occurred. But once again, when you have two mama's boys, you're dealing with two people who are constantly dealing with insecurities. They have insecurity issues. Had that been Steph Curry might have clapped for the basketball, and Draymond probably would just gave it to him. And if Steph had clapped for it and he hadn't have received it, he would have just put his head down, but he would have ran forward. And that would have been that. And they probably would have got to the sideline and Steph would have came over to Dre and he said, Dre, bro, I was open. You know, just give me a chance with the ball so that we can close this game out. I understand what you were looking at, but I was open. You know, we could have finished these guys off. And that would have been that. But because KD and Draymond are both dealing with similar issues in regards to insecurities, that's why you have that big cataclysmic clash.
Draymond, this is hard for him to swallow, I'm sure, because he's the heart and soul of the team. What really makes the Warriors, because they were the Warriors before KD got there.
Exactly. And that's why I state that all these people talking about you should trade Draymond to appease KD. Why would you do that? There's no guarantee that Kevin Durant is coming back, number one. Number two, Draymond Green is the heart and soul of that defense. If you try to trade Draymond Green to appease Kevin Durant, once again, there is no guarantee, number one, that he's going to stay with you, Kevin Durant I'm talking about. And number two, you're going to seriously compromise your backline defense. And who are you going to replace him with? You're going to replace him with Boogie Cousins, a player who's not a good defender coming off of an Achilles? No, you can't count on that. Once again, I would consider trading Kevin Durant before I consider trading Draymond Green. I'm sure a lot of guys are going to say you're crazy. I'm not even, to be honest with you, I'm not even worried about Kevin Durant leaving if I'm Golden State. We put our best foot forward. We try to bring him back. If he does not want to come back, there should be guys already on our topic board that we're looking at to replace him. And number one, for me, would be Kawhi Leonard. We could bring Kawhi, put him at 3, and he would actually fit in even better than KD. Because he would make their defense even better than it is right now.
Is Steph 1 and Draymond 2. What has ushered in the modern era of basketball in terms of style of play is Steph 1, because he's a mobile artillery unit and he can shoot from such distance. And the ball doesn't stick with him, passes unselfish. And Draymond, too, can not only switch on all 5 positions, can guard all 5 positions.
Absolutely. Draymond Green can legitimately guard all 5 positions. That's why, once again, that's what makes this situation so tenuous, man. Because people are trying to make it like Draymond Green is talking to a giant and he's a midget in basketball terms, and he's not. It's just that they're both so insecure that they're constantly stepping on each other's toes. And once again, the architecture of their team is so strange. Their most talented player is not their alpha or their face. Their face is not their alpha, and their alpha is not the face or the most talented. So it's just very, very weird. See, with the Chicago Bulls, the most talented player, the alpha, and the face were all the same guy. So everything stopped with Jordan. Same thing with Magic later on in his career. Same thing with Bird. So you didn't have to worry about these conundrums. And of course, later on with Kobe, guys like that. But with this team, it's just very, very strange role assignments.
Legitimately, and shoot the 3, you can play 5 out. So Draymond's position in the history of basketball is significant. On this Warriors team is significant, and everyone knows he's the heart and soul of the team. From his point of view, it's like, this dude, 1 foot out the door, nah, you got to be committed. Nah, Draymond, KD doesn't have to do it like every...
Absolutely. Once again, understand the time you're living in. Understand the difference between a rental and ownership. You do not own him. He's a rental. Who thought that Kevin Durant was going to retire a Golden State Warrior? Nobody in their right mind. You should look at it as a pleasure that he chooses to sign these 1-year deals and compromise his income. All he said is that at the end of this season, he's going to go for the money. That's his way of kind of saying that Golden State, they're going to have the utmost opportunity to bring me back, because they're going to offer him the max, and they can afford to offer him the max. So he was putting it out there that they were going to have, the upper hand until this. That's why I state that for Draymond to be this insecure and for all this to pour out, he must be receiving intel, disinformation, or maybe accurate information from somebody who wants to see if he can cause a fissure or a splinter in their locker room. Who could it be? Who is it that both Kevin Durant and Draymond Green hang out with? There's only one name. That's Mr. LeBron James. I mean, who else could it be? LeBron seems to have Draymond Green on a string. He seemed to have him on that string since Game 4 of the 2016 Finals.
Everybody else. KD can do his own thing. They're still going to choose him over you. They will choose KD over Draymond because as excellent as Draymond is, KD is on another level. Even defensively.
I do believe that the Golden State Warriors front office would choose KD over Draymond, but I think that they'd be doing so to their detriment. I really do. Because I think that KD would actually be easier to approximate than Draymond Green, believe it or not. Believe it or not. If KD leaves, we keep our team together, see if we can sign Kawhi. I'm going to hit you with something. Even a player like a Tobias Harris, and I think that he's already signed for the next couple of years with the LA Clippers. If they were to bring him in, a guy who could score 18, 19 a game and play good defense, they could kind of sort of approximate KD and just give more of the offensive load back to Steph and to Klay Thompson. And just go back into 2015, 2016 mode. And let's see how KD can play in another offense without scorers who can shoot the basketball from 30 feet and with constant movement without the basketball to make sure that he has room to operate. Let's see what happens with him. Because KD is a beta. I don't care what anybody says. He's the most talented beta in the history of the NBA, but he is a beta. He's going to be a guy who ends his career with 33,000 points and, maybe 4 titles, and who knows, maybe even win another MVP. And he's going to be a beta. People are going to say, well, I would put him in my top 10, but he wasn't a leader.
The things that Draymond can do, KD can do, and KD can do some things defensively, like guard the rim, that Draymond can't do.
Draymond can guard the rim also. He might not be as good a shot blocker as KD, but there's not much that Draymond can't do on defense.
So, I love the fact that KD has grown up before our eyes. He came into the league as a 19-year-old kid, unsure of himself, fake in a lot of ways in terms of the image he presented, and he has turned...
I don't think that he was necessarily fake. I just think that he was unsure of himself.
We've seen him mature publicly. There's no hiding in this social media age into a...
Sure you can. Just don't go on social media. That's what Kawhi Leonard says he does. Kawhi Leonard would tell you, I'm not on social media.
Much more mature adult who, even the way he handled this is right on the money. Don't lie about it. Say, I think it will get worked out. It hasn't yet. I'm still upset. All that stuff.
I agree with that. I do like how KD has handled the situation. He really has shown a lot of maturity.
What Draymond has to understand is they will choose KD just as everyone will 100 times out of 100 over Draymond, no matter how committed Draymond is. This one-game suspension, read the writing on the wall. Draymond, get in line or they're going to get rid of you.
Stephen A.
I'm not quite sure if they're definitely going to get rid of Draymond. Who knows what's going to happen? If they do trade Draymond to try to appease KD, then you know how desperate they are to keep KD. But I don't think that there's any reason to be desperate to keep KD. 2015 and 2016 have already shown that you can achieve success without Kevin Durant. And wherever he chooses to go, he's going to have to build from the ground up unless he decides to sign with LeBron James.
Isn't that what this part of this is about, though? Because obviously he could have given KD the ball. I get that he made it personal, but don't you think Draymond knows deep down that he's probably going to get dealt, and he's salty?
Well, first of all, he didn't know deep down that he's probably going to get dealt. He should be thinking about that now. According to what I'm being told, they're not thinking about it. They're not thinking about trading Draymond. He's too valuable. I'm here to tell you, I question that. I'm not questioning Draymond's value. Draymond is big time to me in terms of he's the glue for that team. He's that valuable, but I do believe they're worried about Kevin Durant leaving. I do believe they don't.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And as of right now, I'm not quite sure how desperate they are. I'm sure that Bob Myers and Steve Kerr are sitting back and trying to put forth the various computations and figure out what would be best for their team in the long run, because this has certainly thrown a monkey wrench into their hopes and their aspirations for bringing back Kevin Durant. But I think that the first seed of stupidity and departure for KD was actually planted by Bob Myers in the aftermath of them winning their championship last year during the parade, where his jackass was standing on the podium making a joke about how Steph Curry is the face of the team and Steph Curry is their guy, and KD, you're just along for the ride. Like, he was trying to joke, but I'm like, why would you even joke like that? It's just asinine.
They don't want Kevin Durant to leave. I do believe they know that if Kevin Durant leaves, it's entirely possible that he may decide to join LeBron in L.A. Okay, I do believe he's got a home in L.A. himself. I do believe that even though the Knicks think they have a shot at him as well, we shall see. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that because of those concerns, along with the fact that I can tell you as of 3 o'clock this morning when I was getting called.
See, this is what Draymond Green is accustomed to. He's been accustomed to being able to talk to Kevin Durant however he likes. That's why he was saying to DeMarcus Cousins, oh, he's a bitch. Because every time Draymond Green would speak to Kevin Durant in a hard or a harsh way, KD would be receptive. He wouldn't try to buck up against it or argue with him too much. He would just receive the correction. And, you know, when somebody has a feminine mind, like Draymond does, he can speak hard. And when somebody is just allowing themselves to receive that harshness, in his mind, even though he's happy that the person is receiving what he has to say, he's also saying, this dude is a bitch. I don't have much respect for him as a man because I could talk to him however I want. You've never, ever seen Draymond speak to Steph Curry like that. Ever. Number one is because Steph was already there before Draymond got there. Number two, Steph's star started to rise before Draymond's star started to rise. As a matter of fact, Steph's star started to rise in Draymond's rookie year, when Draymond was just a rookie coming off the bench for Mark Jackson. So by the time that Draymond was put into the starting lineup in 2014, Steph Curry had already been the highest vote getter for the All-Star game, which is what he was in 2014. So when Draymond Green was talking to Kevin Durant in the off season, or during the season, I should say, in 2016, I'm sure that, you know, he was rummaging through KD's mind and trying to earn his trust and asking him about Russ and things of that nature, and trying to get him to consider Golden State. And once he saw that KD was so accessible mentally, he said, you know what, I could play games with this guy. And now he's starting to find out other things in regards to KD possibly leaving, and he feels betrayed. Once again, like a guy trying to marry a hoe. Kevin Durant is a high-class hoe. Proverbially speaking, that's what he is. He's a beautiful escort. Right now, he's servicing you. He's been servicing you for 3 years. He's about to go take his services elsewhere. Get over it.
Draymond still hadn't apologized. Draymond still was of the mindset he didn't do anything wrong. He did handle the suspension like a professional, but he didn't back up from his position one bit. He believes he's right. He doesn't believe he did anything wrong. And because of that, you never know what kind of fallout this can be. You can use the B word and you can act that way towards an opponent. You could do it against somebody like LeBron who could shrug that off and still be your boy, because Draymond is real good people. He's as real and authentic as it gets. He doesn't.
Right, but the real reason why LeBron James shrugged that off is because he said to himself, you know what? This guy is the conscience of the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to be my main impediment to winning titles. So if I could possibly win him over, I can work my way into their locker room through him. Utilize him as a proxy unbeknownst to him.
Doesn't have a phony bone in his body. But KD is a different animal, and how he absorbs that moving forward. I'm not talking about he's going to handle his business on the basketball court always, because you could come at KD in any way you want to. He'll still drop 30. That's fine. But how he communicates with you, how he vibes with you, his willingness and desire and inclination to be around you, all of those things are now up in the air, in question. And as of 3 o'clock East Coast time this morning, according to what I was told, Draymond Green still had not apologized. Draymond Green still did not believe he was wrong. And again, he wouldn't let it go. Matter of fact, somebody told me, he said, quote, when KD said, let's go win this game, he said, F that, I don't give a damn about that, and kept going.
Yeah, because all his bitch energy had to come out. That's why. He didn't give a damn about the game because he was too busy acting like a bitch.
At him.
And have the nerves to call Kevin Durant a bitch. Kevin Durant was actually in control.
He wouldn't let it
Of course the Warriors don't want to lose KD. It is almost impossible to replace him. If you try to get a piece to replace KD's value, you have to get either Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard. Who else? Greek Freaks?
I agree. That's why I am stating, if I'm the Golden State Warriors front office, I'm not moving Draymond Green. Because there are not any other players in the NBA who can do what he does. He's playing top-level defense. He actually can run the offense. He can lead the team. He knows the system in and out. He knows the system that every other team runs in and out. it's actually easier to replace KD than it is Draymond. A lot of people might not understand that. A lot of people might doubt that. Kevin Durant is a weapon. He's a weapon on that team. He's a weapon within that system. Draymond Green is the manipulator of that system. He's their point guard. Because even Steph Curry does not know how to run the team as well as Draymond. Not necessarily because he's not as good a point guard as Draymond, just because he's become so accustomed to what his role is, which is just to be the offensive artillery.
It's not available. LeBron's not available. The only two others of equal value are AD or Kawhi.
Well,
that's why, once again, if you're the Golden State front office, consider going all in after Kawhi Leonard. Say it again. Consider going all in after Kawhi Leonard.
If you think you can't get one of those two,
timeout.
You're not going to replace KD. You're going to replace Draymond.
You're not. Well, again, you're not. They're hoping they don't have to make a choice, but you also have to remember a couple of things. Number one, if you decide that you want to move Draymond, that doesn't guarantee that you keep KD, because KD was contemplating leaving before this happened.
Right.
So the point is, it's not all about Draymond as to whether or not he will stay with the Warriors. Then number two, you also have to worry about where KD goes. Hypothetically speaking, as big time as Anthony Davis is, as big time as Kawhi Leonard is, we understand that the Golden State Warriors don't win the championship this year. But one could argue they don't win the championship the last 2 years if it was not for KD's arrival. That as great as Steph Curry is with Klay.
Let's say they would have taken one out of the two without
all right,
KD.
that's fine. But then without Kevin Durant, you're not winning the championship this year. I can tell you that.
Right.
So they recognize that. Now, if you're going to lose KD, here's where it gets interesting. It's not just about losing him. It's about who you lose him to.
Agreed. But you have to say, if you're the Golden State Warriors and you lose KD, hypothetically speaking, to the Lakers, if you're able to acquire a Kawhi Leonard, I still would give them the edge over the LA Lakers. I still would. Even if the Lakers had LeBron and KD.
If KD rolls up in LA with LeBron James, if you are the Golden State Warriors, you have a problem even if you get Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard.
That's right.
You still have a problem.
I'm not sure about that.
Because of the combination of KD with LeBron.
So now it's a really
that's their dilemma. That's the kind of dilemma a KD departure exposed.
It's a really interesting question for the Warriors, because on the one hand, you can take this tack. We're going to demonstrate to KD that we're all in on him and hope that that keeps him here, because that's their best shot to remain this incredible dynasty. And so we'll deal Draymond Green. The problem is you're not going to do that now, because the more important thing is that you win the championship this year, which they'll do if they stay together and stay healthy. Then at the end of the year, what do? When this dude's in free agency, do you then try to deal Draymond to keep KD? And what do you get back from Draymond? Because Draymond really helps the Warriors be the Warriors.
Draymond is incredibly valuable to the Warriors.
That's the point. That's what makes him so irreplaceable. And, people are trying to evaluate this situation based off of who brings more to the table stat-wise. What Draymond brings to the table oftentimes cannot be encapsulated through sheer numbers. When we look at KD, we know what KD's going to bring. He's going to bring 27 points a game, 7 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists. He's going to shoot over 50% from the field. He's going to shoot somewhere close to 90% from the free throw line. He's an offensive machine. Then he's going to give you great effort on defense. But for that system, Draymond is just as valuable, if not more.
To other opponents, you look at his defensive prowess, but the Warriors have already put out there he's been breaking down a little bit. I don't know whether it's true or not, but this is what they say. He's been breaking down a little bit. He's not the same player. Nicks and knacks, injuries, wear and tear, attrition, all of those things have kicked in. So as a result of it, first of all, you're not going to value him over KD, because nobody is. You can't find 3 players or 4 players in the NBA that you... Well,
Draymond is not built to age well in the NBA. Genetically speaking, he's not somebody who's built like an Adonis. He got the body of a 40-year-old man. I don't even think he's 30 years old yet. So he's not going to be someone who's in the NBA into his late 30s. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is probably going to be his last big contract in the NBA. Because assuming that they sign him after this season or after next season, it's probably going to be a 4-year deal. It's going to take him into his mid-30s, and that'll probably be that. Because who else is he going to help across the league? He's not a good offensive player, and he's not somebody who's going to translate well into other offensive systems.
That you value over KD, he's that prolific, but it's certainly not going to be Draymond Green. But also, if you move Draymond Green, because of the money he's looking to get, you have to take those things into consideration.
Well, here's the thing about Draymond. When you think about the way teams want to play the game today,
yes,
you have Anthony Davis as be your number one choice as your forward or center, you know, a big who can do all those things. Al Horford, who's off to a slow start this season, is another, and because they can also rim protect. And then Draymond. Draymond's kind of exactly what every team is looking for. Even a slightly diminished version of himself should have a lot of trade value.
Where does Boogie Cousins fall in all this?
Well, Boogie Cousins has to get back healthy. When he's healthy, he's big time. He's 28 and 12.
Well, they're not going to need 28 and 12 from him. What they're going to need from Boogie Cousins is to be a guy who can operate in the low post and who can draw fouls from the other team, make his free throws, and convert easy layups. You're not going to need him pulling up from three. And once again, I saw him in practice the other day. I saw some footage of him in practice, and he was running up and down the floor like a 90-year-old woman. So I don't think that he's going to be ready probably until February. But we'll see.
Walking. But the reality is that the kind of injury that he's had, the Achilles, combined with the size that he brings it with, he's a big boy. And so because he's that big and he has to overcome that injury, this isn't some miniature guard that suffered an Achilles tear. This is a 6'11", 200.
Right, but I actually think that it's better for him that he's so big and he suffered that injury. Because if he was a 6-foot guard who has suffered an Achilles tear, he's going to lose a lot of his fast twitch. He's going to lose a lot of his explosiveness. Being 6'11" and 270, and he was never a great athlete to begin with, really, he just has to get his feel back for the game and his touch.
280-pound dude, and that's going to be a lot.
Thing about Boogie, though,
Or could he be in their long-term plans?
Yeah, this is what I think. I think they're looking at Boogie Cousins. I think they're hoping maybe they can get some kind of a discount. Boogie does not rely on athletic ability.
They're not hoping for a discount from Boogie Cousins, man. But I mean, you never know. There may be some teams across the NBA who say to themselves, you know what, Boogie Cousins, he's just not the player that he was. He fits in well with the Warriors. We're not going to make him any offers. But supposedly Anthony Davis wants the New Orleans Pelicans to bring him back. I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's just him trying to put out the fires of certain people like myself who believe that he's the reason why they never brought him back in the first place. Who knows? But either way, I could see him possibly coming back to the Warriors, but I think that it's remote. Because I do think that he's going to get at least one offer that's going to transcend what the Warriors will be able to offer him. I think that at the most, they'll be able to offer him $8 million after this year. So we'll see.
He has very little of it for an elite player. His skills, his moves, his passing ability.
But he's not. But you see what? He's not even in the same stratosphere defensively as Draymond.
However, this is my point. Wait a minute. This is my point. It's not to replace Draymond. The player who actually replaces Draymond in this equation is KD. KD can, in fact, though you think of them different, their body types are different, their attitudes are different, KD can do many of the same things Draymond can do defensively, some things he can't. Boogie is just an offensive upgrade. I bet if they think they can save some money and go get Boogie and deal Draymond, that's going to be their plan.
All right.
I don't think so.
We shall see.
For another day.
All I know, it's going to be a big summer for free agency.
Boogie.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge summer for free agency. It's also going to be a huge rest of the season for this team. It's going to be very interesting to see how Steve Kerr and Steph Curry are able to put any type of ointment on this rash that is breaking out.
Boogie, when he's healthy, is a problem.
Right? First aid just getting started.
Yeah, Boogie, when he's healthy, is a problem. I agree with you. He's a problem on the court, in the locker room, on the sidelines, with the refs, with the coaches, with his teammates, and with the opponents. But anyway, peace.